Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a special edition of the OCRL Race Report. I'm your host, Jeff Baki Jr., alongside my co-host, Scott Ickes. Scott, even though it's an off week, it's been a really busy week in the OCRL. You want to enlighten us a little bit?
Yeah, it's been an off week, but it's also been a busy week. Me and my team Zero Motorsports isn't going to have a nationwide series, so I took my team and we're making nationwide cars, and we're getting ready to race.
And that's not the only bit of news that we heard. The OCRL released that they would be reverting into a Car of Tomorrow version of the nationwide series, and a lot of the small-time team owners rejected this idea. It caused a lot of word wars, namely Sean Sadler's racing team, Sadler Foreman Racing. He also announced early in the week that I would be driving for him. Once again, that's great news, and I'm honored to be able to be a part of that deal with Michael Gruby back in the seat. And there was a moment this weekend that we didn't think that team was going to continue past that. I mean, Scott, he heard the news about the new COT, and things just went downhill, it seemed like.
Yeah, for the nationwide owners, if you've been building a car for years and years and years, when you stop and you have to build something else, it costs a lot of money. You have cars left over that, what are you going to do with? But I think the OCRL has done a good job of instituting the new car in, and, it's just for safety and, for cool reasons. The car looks great, and it's going to be a really fun series racing now with the new cars.
Yeah, it really does look great. I mean, the Mustangs, man, they look real nice, and you're going to be behind one of those Mustangs you guys announced earlier this week. The Dodge has the Charger. Them things look mean as they can be. The Impala's revamped, and Toyota's going to be sticking with the Camry, and not too much change over there on their camp, but still a good-looking car. All four makes did a great job presenting this to the OCRL, and in the end, it seems like everybody was okay with what was going on with the new car, and it seems like everybody's going to be in full force. Sean, I don't believe, has committed full-time to it yet, but we do know that he's going to be in Daytona, and SFR will have 3 cars showing up there, and it's going to be great. And while we're talking about teams and people who are being great, let's welcome into the studio Jason Gaines. How you doing tonight, Jason?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Now, we had talked last time you was on the show, before the show, about maybe a little bit of news, and we talked a little bit afterwards, and I think this is going to be the show to announce it. So sit tight, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going to be bringing on Jason Gaines as a third co-host for the new season coming up. Ain't that right, Jason?
That's right. Looking to step in, not to take anybody's spot. I mean, if it happens to where Scott has to be out for some reason, I'll be there to step into, I guess, the co-host position. But I'm just looking to be another voice, another opinion, just somebody to talk about the matters that come up within the league and within the racing that we have, and it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
And if you've been on the race report before as a driver, you know that we do have a hard time coming up with different topics to talk about, so a third voice in the studio all the time will definitely help, and we're still going to have the special guests and everything, but Jason's been on the show a good number of times, and he's done a great job every time we've been here, and it's going to be an honor working with him. He's my teammate, he's my friend. Well, not my teammate no more, but he drives for me, so it's going to be great having him on board. But let's not keep the fans, the drivers, the team owners waiting anymore. This show is a special edition for one reason. We're releasing the 2011A Nationwide Series schedule, and this is anticipating news. We do know that we're going to Daytona this Tuesday coming up, and nobody knows what's after that. We're going to have a 10-race season. We've taken select drivers, asked them for their favorite 5 tracks, and we made the schedule based on that. For example, and I'm going to say a track to be fair, that is not ran by the Nationwide Series cars, Infineon. If Infineon was on 3 of the 5 drivers list, and we know Infineon was a good choice, but that wasn't a track that nobody selected, so that was just an example. But what we're going to do, and this is how this is going to be drawn out, is I'm going to announce each track one by one. And after we announce the track, I'd like to go into maybe a little bit of history, talk about past races there in the Nationwide Series, and what you guys think about having this track on the schedule. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Now, no need to go on Daytona. The Nationwide Series is always going there, and it seemed like that is a good way to open the season. I can't imagine opening the season anywhere else. You guys agree?
Yeah, you gotta start at Daytona. That's where everything starts, where all the racing action in any of our 3 series have always been is Daytona. So I wouldn't feel right starting out the season without being at Daytona.
Great. Now, the second track that it seemed like the majority of the people that were involved in this vote, and the way we did this, nothing unfair or anything, we selected 5 people that I think had unbiased decisions, unbiased answers, people that would be really good on what's best for the league, and we sure did do a great job. The people, they knew it was best, they didn't think about themselves, and looking down at the schedule right now, there's going to be a lot of happy people, so I hope. After we leave Daytona next Tuesday, we're going to roll into the sunny place of Atlanta, Georgia, and that is going to take place as the second race of the season at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Jason, we'll start off with you. I know you love this track. What's it going to be like having this as the second race of the season?
It's going to be a confidence booster. Like I've mentioned before, this is probably going to be my one good shot at running for a championship the complete season at least. I mean, we had them electrical problems with the truck, and the last season we had with the Camping World Series, and that was a downer. We fought back and got a top 5 finish out of it in the points, but I'm looking to try to get a championship in any kind of series. It doesn't matter, Nationwide Cup, trucks, whatever, but knowing how I've ran there in the past, I believe I finished top 3, I think, last year in the Nationwide. I can't remember, but we run strong there. Every series we go to Atlanta, and we run strong, so that's a big confidence booster looking into the first couple races of the season.
Yeah, last season when we went to Atlanta, it was Andrew Mickey who prevailed under fuel mileage. Them guys went to victory lane, and Jason, you did finish 3rd. Jesus was 2nd. Eric Mickey was 4th, and we had an issue with the engine. Ended up being a small field, so I got 5th place out of the deal, but those were that was a race that was considered a fuel mileage race, and that's usually how Atlanta goes. Everybody really races pretty hard there, but we stay clean for the most part, and it produces great race, and I think that was a really, really good pick to put onto the schedule because it's a track that everybody can enjoy. The season before that, we didn't go to, but in 2010A, Scott, you and your team went to victory lane at Atlanta after leading the most laps. You want to elaborate on what Atlanta means to you, being the second race of the season?
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta is a really fun track to go to. You gotta have a good car. Some people complain about it because it's a drafting track, but I think most importantly, you gotta stay in the draft. If you don't have a good car, you won't be in the draft for too long, and then you'll be in the back, and you'll have to do everything on pit strategy. So it's really a fun track to go to. Great racing, and I think I've raced everybody here pretty hard at Atlanta. So it's just an awesome track to go to.
Yeah, looking through the stats here, I ain't looking too shabby. My best finish is 5th place, and that was the engine failure. I've never finished a race at Atlanta, so I can't talk too much about Atlanta, but I can talk a lot about the third stop on the schedule, and this is one that I know I voted for, and it seemed like other people felt like it was just as good. And once we get off in Georgia, we're going to go all the way over to the West Coast, and we're going to take a stop in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix International Raceway for the 3rd stop in the Nationwide Series schedule. And personally for me, I love that track. it seems like it's really fast for the mile of a track that it is, and they call it the Diamond in the Desert for obvious reasons. Scott, you want to go ahead and elaborate a little bit on the track?
Yeah, it's a different kind of track, you know. When you go there, it's got the dog leg in it, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. To me, as a driver, it almost reflects almost like a really small Pocono or Richmond. You know, with Pocono, it's bigger, and you got the dog leg, and with Phoenix, it's shorter. You use a lot more brake, and you know, just all around, it's tough track. It's really hard on the tires and whatnot.
And we've been to, I'm sorry, that's Richmond. We've been to Phoenix 2 times prior to this season, and this will be the third time that we've gone to this track. And both times, looking at the stats here, Eric Jeffers has pulled away with a victory. And we do know that he doesn't race here anymore. But for any driver who has back-to-back wins at a track that we've only raced twice, I mean, undefeated, that's a lot of morale. I finished second this season in 2010B, and Corey Bunch, Scott, he's your driver. He'll be your teammate this season. He finished second the first time we made this trip. So, Scott, Jason, this will be your first time going to Phoenix, I believe, in any of the 3 series. Have you, what's it going to be like being a rookie to that track?
It's going to be a challenge. It's like you say, never been there before. I like the track. I've been there in other series and earlier in my career, and it's a fun track to drive. It's a hard track to drive, but I don't see us having any issues. I mean, I've got a great teammate in Jesus that's going to be able to help me this season with you being with Sadler Foreman, and you know there's still going to be an alliance there between the 2 teams, I feel. So I don't have any concerns about it.
Great. Now I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys do, because Phoenix is a great track for Jesus. He's me and him have had some history there. It's always me and him, it seems like, battling for the lead. I remember one time in the Sprint Cup Series, I actually turned him on the last lap coming out of turn 4, and that was actually the season right before the championship race, and in that off season he was supposed to be packing up, moving over to my team, and he ended up doing it anyway, but that was just an awkward kind of welcome to the team there. But we'll move on to the 4th race of the 2011A season, and this is a track that's really heartfelt for me, another great track for me and my team, and proud to have that. And Scott, I think you and your team do pretty well here after dominating there last year in the Truck Series, but Dover International Raceway will play host to the 4th race of the season, and the last time we were here, it was a wild finish. We know that Steve Anders we call him Concrete Steve. He can go to Dover and tear it up, hands down. And he blew an engine there with just a few laps to go last time after leading the most laps, and I happened to be the car that capitalized, and I got my first win ever at Dover, and it was a great track for me. Jason, when we were there in the Nationwide Series last, you and Jesus both have really good runs going, and it's, things outside of your control stopped both of you guys here. Looking at the results from 2010C, where you guys finished 6th and 7th, the last 2 cars in the field there. And Dover it's a pretty good track for you, but maybe you haven't put the finishes together that you'd like.
Yeah, I'm looking at the same notes that you've got here, and I'm showing that I only raced 32 laps of the scheduled 150, which is nothing to be proud of for sure, but I think I'm not really 100% confident on what exactly happened in that race. I mean, I know I didn't qualify well, and I don't seem like I raced all that great, but there again, you know, it's like you say, Dover's a good track for me. I like racing there. I like the high banks of it and the concrete. I like that. It's going to be some good racing, so I'm looking forward to all the tracks. Like I said before, it don't matter what I'm racing, as long as I'm racing something, I'm happy.
Right. And we mentioned that Jason was going to be a rookie going into Phoenix. Scott, no starts in the Nationwide Series at Dover. However, your teammate, Corey Bunch, was the other driver to win at the mile concrete jungle, so to speak, the Monster Mile. And you guys can have some notes to base off that, but I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Jason. What's it going to be like going to a track for the first time?
I mean, you know the track, but you're racing in something different, so it definitely it's going to be a lot of testing, as much testing in as you can. You try to get it in. I don't know if Corey is running the nationwide or not. He hasn't really said much to me yet, but if he is, we'll definitely have a car ready for him. And the more him help me out is great. He gives great feedback, and we really work well together. So that'll definitely make it easier on me being there for my first time. But if not, I'm sure everybody on the team can get the car ready, and we'll be all right.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move along to the fifth stop on the schedule. I believe we're at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. We sure are. The fifth track was voted, and it was almost unanimous. Seems like everybody said, you know what, we need to go to this track. And we thought about it, and I don't remember ever going to it before, but we definitely have. We've gone to it twice before, and both times it has been a driver that is, I guess, up and coming. That track is Chicagoland Speedway. That's the fifth stop that the Nationwide Series will take. This is going to be the halfway point. The first time we were there, Jesus Andrade was racing for Eric Mickey at the time, and he won the race with Kevin Sibilia trailing right behind him. And Scott, you finished fifth. Jason, you weren't with us yet. And then that was 2009A. We raced it again in 2010A. And that is when, at my point, Kevin was racing for me. We had made sure that he had my setup under the hood. He struggled when we got there. And looking at the results here, I really paid for it, giving him my setup. I finished second to him after he led the most laps. And Scott, you weren't in this race. So one start there, and we haven't been there in 2 seasons. So I know for all of us, there's got to be some worry in the camp. I mean, the Sprint Cup, we're hearing that this new Nationwide Series COT is supposed to handle like the Sprint Cup Series COT. We're very, very similar. So you've been to Chicagoland, and you guys have been pretty decent in the Cup Series. So would you carry the notes over from that, or?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them we would. Definitely how the race played out. We carry that over. How the race went, what kind of adjustments we made on the car. I love going to Chicago, and that's probably one of my top 5 favorite tracks to go to. There's not really many bumps on the track. There's a lot of tracks we go to where it's pretty. It feels like you're on a dirt road, but at Chicagoland, it's not too bad. And getting into pits isn't too bad. So definitely, I think we'll be okay there, but. I mean, everybody's going to be worried. I mean, it's a new car, and we haven't had any testing on it yet. So until we actually get out there and test on all these tracks, I think all of us are going to be a little worried about everything.
Right, and you mentioned that we haven't had any testing. OCRL right now is being really strict with teams and money, and they're saying team owners, drivers, enjoy your off season. They don't want no testing. And we're supposed to start doing Daytona testing here this upcoming weekend. Saturday and Sunday are going to have 2 days of testing, and that is still unknown. There's no official word on that, and they're being really tied up, and we don't even know if we're going to be racing Tuesday. For reasonings outside of our control, we're having some issues with contracts and sponsors. Nationwide is a sponsor of the series, but a lot of contract stipulations that could keep us from racing Tuesday, but we're almost going to be there. It's going to be very unlikely that you won't see us behind the wheel Tuesday. And Jason, this is another track that you don't have any laps on. So we're going to go ahead and save you from answering any questions, because I know that you can answer my next question talking about the sixth track that we're going to go to after Chicago. We're going to head back over to the East Coast to a track I don't think you have anything bad to say, Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Yeah, there's not much bad that's going to come out of my mouth when you talk about Charlotte. I mean, it's, home track. I've got a win there, and I think in the trucks, and I'm not sure if I even started the race in 2010C with the Nationwide. So, I mean, it's there again, just like Scott said before, it's with the new car, I've got a lot of unknowns for most of these tracks, because when I actually came to the league, I think we were more than halfway through with the season of Nationwide cars last year, and there's a lot of tracks that I haven't been on yet with the Nationwide car period, much less a newly designed Nationwide car, which is going to handle like Sprint Cups, which It's going to give me a little bit of advantage, but still, it's going to be a lot of questions as far as me and my setups and everything. But yeah, I'm looking very much looking forward to Charlotte.
Now, Scott, you have a win in series racing for me back in 2010B, I believe it was. Yes, 2010B, a track that you have been very successful at in the Cup Series. And if these cars handle like they say they're going to be, then you're sitting pretty there.
Yeah, definitely. Charlotte's. I mean, I've always been pretty good there, and just like the track. Hopefully, the notes that we have from our nationwide and from our Cup, maybe we can merge a little bit of both and put them into the car and see what happens. But I mean, I think the fans always get a great show there every year. I don't think we've had too many fuel mileage races there, so. Most of the time it comes down right to the wire. The last, couple cautions, drivers are all jacked up and they want to get as many positions as they can. So,
and Eric Mickey was the most recent winner at Charlotte in 2010C, and Kevin Sibilia joins him as the other winner that's been victorious, and Jesus Andrade won the inaugural showing there. Moving along to the 7th race of the season, we're dwindling down. We got 4 more races before the end of the season down in Homestead, and Homestead was a track that was unlocked. We do know that we're going to be ending the season in Homestead, but we still got to get there. The 7th race that we're going to go to after Charlotte, I mean, what season would be incomplete without Talladega? That's the track that's going to make the 7th stop in the Nationwide Series. A track that historically in the Nationwide Series hasn't been too competitive. The cars seem like they're out of control, but then again, this is a new car, and it's supposed to produce better racing. We're going to start with Jason.
Yeah, with having Talladega, it's like I say, you've got to have Talladega. I mean, Daytona's a given, and that's where we always start every series. That's part of NASCAR history. But Talladega, also another speedway, you've got to have that in any season you run just because of the racing and the drama that it creates. But having that in the number 7 spot out of a 10-race season is going to be huge, especially for the people that are contending for championships going into Talladega. Because, I mean, that's, they say rolling the dice at Las Vegas. I think that Talladega would be more of a gamble race, in my opinion.
I think so, too. And Talladega is a given. It's going to be a great track. It produces great racing. It's going to be close. Hopefully we'll see the same thing. Hopefully we won't see the same thing that we saw in the Truck Series where we got into the 2-car packs. I mean, it was fun, but it was drawn out, boring for most everybody. I know I enjoyed it. Then again, we know what happened there. The 8th track that we're going to see is going to be Michigan International Speedway. It's been a great track for me and my team, and looking forward to going back there again. Scott, you guys have had some sort of success here in the past too.
Yeah, I seem to do all right in Michigan, even though I really haven't really liked the track all that much. I hit on something a few years ago, like a couple seasons ago. We were working on the setup, and I hit something, and we've been pretty good since. Before we would really struggle with even keeping up with everybody. So, with the setup we got underneath, that we can keep up with people, run pretty good, and that track, it's just making sure you got a good long run setup, because most of the time we're gonna have maybe 1 or 2 pit stops throughout the race length, and you got to be ready to make sure you got a good long run setup.
And Scott, I know that you have sponsorship commitments that you got to go take care of, and being that me and Jason are here, we'll go ahead and take care of the final few tracks, and I'm sure you'll see what the schedule is going to appear later on in the show. So have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
No problem. See you guys.
The 9th stop that the Nationwide Series is going to make is going to be Richmond International Raceway. Simulating Phoenix, it's fast down the stretch, you brake hard into the corner, and you got to roll right through the center to be able to get through the exit. And Jason, you guys, I mean, tell us about it.
Well, I mean, I think you were searching for what I'm about to tell you is the fact that, yet again, we've not been to that track yet.
Right.
It's there again, go back to the same thing, the variables and the unknowns. I can't wait to eventually get to where we can go testing. I mean, we've got a lot of work to put into these cars to be, contender bound. There's a lot of unknowns, and I need to get out there and go back to notes from Cup Series and pull any and everything I can, a bit of information away from Jesus and anybody that's willing to help out, because like you say, there's a lot of tracks that I haven't been to yet, but I have every bit of confidence in my team and the people back at the shop. I think we'll be fine.
I think you guys will be too, because looking at the last most recent season we were being there, the 88 team and myself, we dominated. We had some engine issues right at the very end. 10 to go, I remember we had about a 3-second lead over second place, and we had a really fast car. We had some engine issues, and we just had to back it way down. I mean, way down, just to preserve the engine, and we ended up losing the lead to Nick Casey, who ended up being second best all race long. He ended up coming and coasting to the win with the car that that was a race winner. Obviously, he won the race being in that position, and I'm sure with Tony Sr. and the notes that you guys are going to have from the 88 car, Richmond should not be an issue for you guys. And Jesus has struggled there. I'm seeing where he had engine issues. That was a bad day I remember we brought some sour motors to the track, but he was running in the top 3 or 4 all night long up until that point too. He's good at Phoenix. I don't see no reason why I can't carry the success over to Richmond. And the final track that we are going to go to, we mentioned this, Homestead. It's always played host to the final race of the season, and that's where championship week is. And it's going to be the Ford 300. We know the sponsorship already. Maybe there will be a Ford battling for the championship. Scott's going to be running Ford. We're hoping to see Stevie back full time again. We know that he can contend in this. And this is a track that you can talk about. You've been here in the trucks, the Cup Series, and the Nationwide Series. All 3 series you've been really strong, and you know how to get it done around there in Homestead.
Yeah, probably the best series that I would enjoy being at Homestead would have to be the trucks. I mean, I've always seemed to be fairly good and feel confident and comfortable in the truck series there, but Nationwide isn't far off. Wasn't far off, I should say. The new car is going to change that, but yeah, it's definitely the premier track to end the championship, any championship at. I mean, it's like you said, I hope that Chevy can pull out another manufacturer's win with this, and but I mean, you got the Dodges are coming back now, and you're still going to have the Fords lingering around with Scott and especially Steve, and I'm hoping that he comes back, and I like to see Sean stick around the full length of the season with us, and Mike, and I'm just looking forward to getting on the track with all these guys and seeing how this is going to play out. I'm really excited to get this underway.
And I am as well. And just to recap the final schedule, we go to Daytona, Atlanta, Phoenix, Dover, Chicago, Charlotte, Talladega, Michigan, Richmond, and Homestead. And I'm excited to get past Daytona because we always start out at Daytona. It's no surprise we're probably going to end up there. It's going to be a great season, I believe, for everybody. And just as long as everybody can keep their heads cool, I can see this being one of the most successful Nationwide Series seasons that we've had in quite some time. We had a really close battle, me and Eric did the last season but there was nobody else in contention behind us. So I'm hoping we can get down to Homestead, and for the fans' sake, there's 4 or 5 of us that are still in the shot for the championship.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much. So I'm hoping I'm going to be going for something other than a win at Homestead, just like the rest of us, but we'll see how it all plays out. It's going to be some exciting racing, that's for sure.
It sure is, and we're running just about out of time here, looking at the clock. We're going to round out the show, and it's been a great special edition, and like I mentioned, Scott couldn't be here to round out the show, but we got Jason in the house, and he's going to continue to be with us show after show, and it's going to be great having him. And we're going to kick off with the new season next week, next Tuesday to be exact, in Homestead. One quick thing to throw out there is the start times. We're going to be starting at 8:45 instead of 8:30. And then qualifying will be at 9. And again, there is a new qualifying format. And all this stuff will be posted on the OCRL.com throughout the week. So pay attention to that. And also stay posted for the practice times. See if OCRL straightens any of that stuff out. And it's been a great show. I'm glad that the schedule's finally out there. It'll be posted in the scheduling system, RPM, here shortly. once everybody gets the show, we want to build up hype. So get people to watch this, get the views, and hopefully we're going to do that. We're going to hold the schedule up until the weekend at least, and we're going to take it from there. And on behalf of everyone at the OCRL Studios, I'm Jeff Baki Jr., and this is my co-host, Jason Gaines, and we'll see you next week in Daytona Beach.